Hey everybody, it's me, Allie. So good to be back. I can't tell you how much I have really truly wanted to do videos for like the longest time, but it wasn't possible. There were so many things going on and I wanted to talk about them, but I felt a little intimidated. I don't care about what people think about me, but I also always strive to give out a good message and to show people that you can experience this world and you can enjoy some things of this world, but I suggest that people take that path toward illumination first. And the reason why is because the things in this world, if you don't balance out your duality, it'll take you away. And sometimes the places that it takes you to, you don't come back from easily. But when you are enlightened or at least awakened to a good degree, you could go out and own your own world and enjoy life. But you have to see things correctly in life to do that. So I guess that's what I wanted to talk to all of you about in this video and start a new page, because we are going forward finally in the next chapter of this journey together as your spiritual teacher, your friends, your guide, and the person that really, really loves you, wants to see you live and live fully. I hope you enjoy the background music. This is DJ Audion. I love his music. I actually heard him play live and it takes me away. Just good vibes, good feelings. So let's talk about it. Throughout the path of illumination, I have spent a lot of time really teaching people how to clear their mind of the human perspective. Obviously, that's not going to be anything that's easy, because you are a human and you live here with the world, with other people, and it's so easy to slip back into that mindset, because even though you'll never really get rid of it, if you try to transcend it, which means to rise above it, there are so many things in a heartbeat that will pull your attention just greatly away. So what I mean is that when you are relieving your mind and you are growing beyond those everyday thoughts that most people have. Good example, if you're not familiar with my teachings, for some of you, or you haven't been in my courses, mankind has this way of thinking that's, really programmed into society. For an example, people that are giving you a dirty look from across the room, and let's say you catch it and all of a sudden you're thinking, most people are thinking, what the F are they looking at? Or a person will start to say, oh my gosh, what's the matter with me? Why are they staring at me? Do I look funny? What's their problem? So there are many different varieties of thoughts that will run through a person's mind in a moment like that. But to transcend that is to have the ability to not have those thoughts come first. Like if you catch a person looking at you just like that, and you turn around and you say in yourself, okay, well, looks like they're having a bad day. And then you just smile at the person with no bad feelings and you're on your way. And you don't hold it, you don't take it with you, you don't allow it to make you feel any type of way. There are so many other instances like that. For an example, when someone is talking to you and they're telling you about how they feel, and perhaps you meant nothing by anything that you've said or done, but for some reason the other person has taken it that way, that you were being hurtful to them. I've had this happen a lot of times, and it really does really hurt. It hurts on both sides, because the other person seems to have thought that you've done something to them negatively, and in your heart you know that you didn't, but you can't imagine why that person would get that from you. That's also a part of that human perspective. I can't imagine why. So a person that ends up getting into a conversation with someone who's confronting them about it is normally going to get very defensive. They're going to say, I didn't mean it like that. What are you talking about? I certainly didn't mean to insult you. And they're going to say, I don't care. What you said was really ignorant and I don't appreciate it. And you're telling them back, hey, I really didn't mean it. I don't know what your problem is. Just let it go. And all of a sudden that person just gets really worked up because it's not that you're telling them that you didn't mean it. It's that you're invalidating. So that feeling of invalidation is totally why the person is hurt. It's not that you're saying, no, I didn't mean it like that, because they may feel inside that you really didn't, but you're telling them, well, I didn't make you feel that way. I didn't mean to. And you're not addressing the real issue in a situation like that. So the life coaching that I give, it's the tree of life. It teaches you things that you can apply, like communication, training your mind to have that reactive way of thinking, not to think in that human perspective first, to get defensive, to get all revved up and upset, and things get frustrated and heated. But it teaches you to just very calmly learn how to address communicating with other people in a way that they will feel better with and understand. A good way of really expressing this is that a majority of the world with human perspective, they act the way they want to act, they speak the way they want to speak, they say what they want to say. And I know that a lot of people in this world, they believe in the concept of free will. And of course, you can claim to have your free will and use it. But in all honesty, those who believe in higher self know that when you have a higher self, there is no free will for you. You're the sim, you're the avatar in this world. That's why weird things happen, like feeling sometimes that you're looking at yourself maybe disassociated. Have you ever done that? Like look down at your feet or your hands and like, wow, these are my hands. Because that's you kind of just coming out a little bit and seeing it for who you are, which is a spirit. And that doesn't happen to a lot of people, but those that have had that happen know exactly what I'm talking about. You should be able to do that a lot. You know, come into that higher self zone and have the ability to connect that way, even on just little occasions. To go into that mindset is to live by your higher self, which is the path that was destined for you. This is the story that your higher self wanted to live out. And there's obstacles and there are so many hurdles to jump in life that this life is going to hurl at you. They're going to hurl it at you. And you have to have that higher self way of thinking to get on your path that you're on. And even when those obstacles are thrown right at you, to like dodge them and say, yeah, I'm smarter than that because I'm going by my higher self. That's why I do the Path of Faiths reading, because I always want to show people that they have choices in life because of these hurdles that come in, obstacles they have to fight against. And sometimes those obstacles may not even seem like obstacles, like a person that they come to meet and they believe that they've met someone that they're in love with, and this person really makes them feel good, but it's not a good thing. You know, even though they get along, even though they want to be around each other all the time, even though they have this passion, they're not looking at everything else around them because they're not coming out of that higher self perspective to see. And what they should be seeing is what else is going on in their life while they're in that relationship, to question whether this person, no matter how they feel, is on the right path. Because people will sacrifice so many things for what they want at that moment. It's the truth. Human perspective does that, because in their mind, they're thinking, well, I really love this person. And they're not strong enough spiritually to say, well, I really love this person, but is this person really a part of my destiny? Even though it feels good now and I'm happy, I have to know, because if I continue down this path, it's going to take me down another strain of my path, my journey. And I could miss out on so many things and maybe not even get that ending that I want. And that's the truth. It really is. I see it all the time. People will jump into these situations, and it's not just with relationships, it could be anything, where they move or where they've chosen to travel off to, choices that they make with a new job or a new school or none at all. And they don't realize that this all makes the greater difference of how your life works out. You all wanted to know. You went on this spiritual journey really, really thriving in your heart with your belief. It was carrying you into this magical place of exploration. And what you explored, for a lot of you, wasn't just because it was trending. It was because there was always some connection for you there. And so with all of those teachers talking about higher self and manifestation, the laws of attraction, illumination, as the word started to become a little more viral, they never understood the concept of what any of that really ever was. So I'm trying to teach that, and this is a little part of it. And that's why I always refer to the movie The Fountain with Hugh Jackman. I don't watch a lot of movies or television, even though, I have things that I love, like music. I make sure it's clean and, just feel good vibes. I love every genre of music. That's not to say that I love everything in every genre, but I love something from every genre. But dance music is my favorite. 90s and up till today, and EDM, trance, I love it. Nevertheless, we have a beautiful thing that anybody could grasp if they would just look for that higher self. And in the movie, when I did see it, I really liked how they captured that real true idea of higher self, which is the higher self is there in this dream. And this is so much bigger than you could ever imagine. And within that dream, his real greater soul wants to go on this journey to, throughout time, to get a chance or ability to find a cure for cancer for the soulmate and the woman that he loves, because he wasn't learning the lesson, because there was a great life lesson there. People confuse everything. They confuse everything. He wasn't supposed to find the cure. He thought that that was his purpose. And imagine his higher self was guiding this trip for him through life. But yet the avatar character living the life for the higher self started to believe that their purpose in that journey was to find the ability to cheat death and stay with this woman that he loved throughout all that time, throughout each life. And so coming up into the last part of the movie, we see that it was never about him staying with her, because the idea was that his lesson in life was more important. And what that was is that it's never ending. And just because she died in the movie, which he was trying to stop, he could always have her, because it's not real. This reality is an illusionary concept that we all connect to through the programming in our DNA that makes us see, hear, experience, and even act and interact very similarly. It comes from inside, from Earth. And so if he could just put that to the side and go into that higher self channel through his spiritual DNA, he would have discovered, wait a minute, I don't have to worry about losing her. It's sad that I do. This part of the story hurts, but I could just go and do this all over again. Maybe do it differently or experience new things. And at the end of it all, that end starts our redo or our new beginning. And it's beautiful. That's a beautiful thing. But nobody can look at it that way when they are living it, because of the obstacles and the hurdles, such as what that character went through by the hurt and the emotion that he felt knowing that this soulmate of his needed to cure this illness to live, because he wanted her there, because he knew that he made the mistakes. See, that's another thing. So your path will get distracted very easily by your choices. And while he thought his choice was to find the cure, help his soulmate, and get extra time, he realized that by doing that, he wasted all the time that he could have had with her by leaving her behind to go and look for the cure, to look for a solution. And it devastated him, because as he was looking back, he was thinking to himself that if I only just would have stopped being so obsessed about this, I could have had more moments, and they would have all counted more for something, rather than the moments I didn't have, and this endless search for nothing. And that was a very painful realization. Sometimes life has those painful lessons. But what a lot of people believe is that you go out, you live, you make your choices, you feel those painful emotions and experience tragedies or trauma, and that you learn greatly from it. And when I tell you that that is true, it is. However, what if you had someone that could guide you, to teach you to not perceive things in life that way, so that you would make the right choices and not miss out on the things that you were truly meant to do and experience, and not get held back in a place of your life where you should be, 12 steps ahead, if you just wouldn't have made this choice over here. And that's the best part about having an oracle, is because you get that with me. And if I'm not reading personally for your life, I'm guiding you in the life coaching to give you these tools to react, feel, think, speak, and do everything the best that you can. Not perfect, but the best that you can to get the fullest experience here in positivity and in good creation of your life, your reality, and the manifestation of things that you want in that. And it's really not as difficult as a lot of people think, but for some reason, I've had people that have had some difficulties in achieving, that way of living. The human perspective will always hold you back. Getting back to what I was saying about the relationships, even though you care about the person, you don't have to discard them. You don't have to write them out of your story, out of your life. If they entered into your life and you made a connection, then they're there. That's a good thing, is to have good emotions towards another person. But you have to look at it from your higher self's perspective and say, is this meant to happen, or is this an obstacle? Is this a distraction? Because I should be doing this over here, which would better my life, not only now, but even more so later, and perhaps lead me to something more exciting and new and permanent. Because, that relationship that they're in, that they're like hanging on to so much, they may think it's going to last forever and take that risk and be in that relationship with the person. And they're so full of love for them, they don't want to leave their side. They're always together, and they miss out on doing the things that they are truly, truly meant to do. And I see it. I've seen it so many times. People allow those emotions to get them caught up in that moment, and it will keep going. So while they're, chilling out with their boo, they're gonna miss out on having time to think about what steps they need to take in order to get this real destiny that's meant for them started. And a lot of people always have this wrong idea of what their destiny is, because they base it on what their human interests want. They're not looking so deep inside themselves of what their consciousness, what their spirit has literally been through in order to define who they're meant to be, what they're meant to do, they themselves. Because honestly, people have so many ideas based on their interests and their trends and the influences of society and what's going on, what everyone else is doing. And they might get very obsessive about the idea because they just like it so much. But that may not be their way to go, because they have gone through their journey in all their lifetimes up until now, bringing things into their higher self library of light that are building together uniquely. It will not be the same for each person. Even if multiple people have a similar destiny, it's going to be different in how it's experienced. It's going to be different in how it works out, the effect that it has, and how it makes the person living it feel. And when they get into that and they're really connecting with the traits and the things they've learned as a soul going through this whole journey, that's when they'll really realize and say, wow, I could see how this was really meant for me. I could really see how I'm meant to do this. and they will put their whole heart, they'll catch on to it with their heart's passion, and it becomes their drive, it becomes their purpose. And it really is a great purpose when they do connect with it, because it becomes everything. It's like their heart and soul going into something that they're trying to do, and it's not all for nothing. It brings who that person is to the forefront. And people are very complex with the labyrinth of their mind, and there'll be a lot of things they're interested in, may be good at naturally, but what are they truly meant to do? Maybe it's not just that one thing about them that should lead to their purpose. It's the blend of all of it. And that's why working through the hurt, working through your negative experiences, learning what you should be doing, and when those obstacles are about to approach, to get that heads up so that you can sit back and say, okay, I don't want that to happen. I want to move on in a good way. So you have to learn how to get rid of that mentality of just judging everything about your life, what you want to do in life, or how you feel about a person or this or that, so to speak. And you have to go deeper, because there's something so much more just beyond that moment. That's why I've always, really felt in my heart some type of way when people would say, live for the moment, or live today because you might die tomorrow or something. And while that is true that you're not always promised tomorrow, and you should live life to the fullest every single day, what a lot of people mean when they're saying it is that you should just do what you want because life is short, and I do feel in a lot of ways that there are a lot of things that people should do that they want to do. But the best way to go about it is to get on your higher self path with that higher self perspective first, because then you can really bring in a lot of who you truly are, and then the things that you really wanted to do, you can kind of throw in there as bonuses, and you will get through life with happiness, and people will love you because you're kind and you're very respectable of them. So that's why I've always said you have to love yourself first, because if you love yourself, you'll learn to make better choices for yourself, because you'll value yourself and your path and your life, and how those choices and experiences, or even just random happenings, all really do define the rest of the way. You're not going to want anything to mess up your happiness, because you'll feel worth it inside for yourself. There's a lot of people that don't. That's why I said we have to work through that hurt and take you into this better place to love you. And that will help. It really will. And that's why in the setting of, getting into an argument and the person's upset, if you come with the higher self perspective, you'll know just how to react and what to say, that person will always value you because you care. You care because you're putting yourself in that person's shoes. You're not looking at it as, if this were me, how would I feel? You can't do that, because you might feel differently than they did. And that's another thing. A lot of people say, I don't know why they're acting like that. If somebody said that to me, I wouldn't care. It's so closed-minded. You have to say, as a person, like, wow, this individual is really upset, and I was the one that said something that made them feel this way. I know I didn't mean it. So knowing them and how they feel and kind of how the way they think, or if you don't know them, to say, I have to kind of imagine how this person would feel in this instance. And that's when you do kind of reflect to yourself, well, I wouldn't care. Well, they do, so it's the opposite of how I would feel. Okay, so they're hurt, and I have to provide reassurance and apology and love, and then turn around and say, I'm really sorry. I didn't realize at the moment that what I was saying made you feel that way, but now I do. And I really do care, and I'm truly sorry if I've hurt you in any type of way. Please accept my apology. And usually the person will calm down and say, okay, I just want you to know you really hurt my feelings, and you take it as a note that that's somebody that you don't want to hurt again. So next time you'll be careful how you word things. And then the human perspective comes in again, because somebody will say, why should I have to walk on eggshells? Why should I have to word myself to be careful just so I don't upset that person? Well, that's really hurtful that you don't care if you upset the other person, for number one. It's a selfish mindset because you don't have to kiss anybody's butt. However, you also don't want to be a jerk who's walking around and just kind of, saying whatever's on your mind at the time, and it hurts somebody else, and you just keep doing it even though they keep telling you many times that how you speak hurts them. And then another person that's closed-minded in a human perspective would say, well, it's their fault for being so sensitive. There's so many things that I've seen in situations like this, and all I can really tell you is that what matters the most is that you always ask yourself, what would I want? Not so much as what you would do, unless you don't know the person at all, because how else will you reflect? But you have to ask yourself, what should I do? And that would be in a really, really good place for you if you could see that the other person is maybe softer and a little bit more sensitive, and come off in a way that's more softer and sensitive, because that shows them that you're not only worried about how you feel being able to say what you want to say, but that you care about the other person. That's why you say, what would I do? Well, what would you do if somebody was talking to you in a way? It doesn't matter what's being said, because obviously that may not have hurt you, but if somebody was saying something that did hurt you, how would you feel? How would you want the situation to go down? Well, obviously you're not going to want to argue. You're not going to want negativity or bad energy with the person. You're going to want the person to apologize and, put an end to the situation and bring it to a close so things can be good. So human perspective always gets in the way. And when I say human perspective, I'm not saying you shouldn't, be human, because like I said, you are, and you live here. But a lot of times those thoughts and these situations and choices and decisions that come up, they really do come from the matrix. They come from this world, this life, because when you are on that path, it reminds me of the Hunger Games. If you remember, when the character from the Hunger Games finally got to the Hunger Games for the first time, she was running through, this huge obstacle throughout this jungle-like setting in this reality that they set up. And she's trying to get away and really survive, but they were deliberately programming a tree in the way that she would, that would block her, or they would program fire into the reality around her, and it felt real. They experienced it as being real, even though it was simulated. That's right. Human perspective also makes you think the same way. You feel pain, you experience being sick when you are that much into it. And so her mind saw real fire look like fire, and she felt fire, and it could have killed her because her mind believed that it could. That is this world, and it's the same for you. Obstacles will be thrown into your path either from your higher self to test you or to teach you a lesson, or it may come from the matrix that wants just another soul, to enslave, because every ant in that ant farm, it matters. It does. It's an ecosystem. It's an infrastructure. So we have to work on all of that. But the beauty of all of it is that life can be happy. It really can. But you have to be walking a path that is fulfilling and joyful for you. And you have to know what that is. That you can't always react on emotion, because your heart sometimes will lie to you and misguide you, to be honest with you. And your mind may to logically overthink things that it could kind of misguide you too. It's always good to be balanced. And if you can't find the right answer being in a balanced place, ask of your higher self. I think about all of the things that happened to me over the last couple of years. I had my new babies, and that literally, I had already just really had some issues with my health at that time, and it just totally deteriorated my health having two new babies. And I went through a lot. We had so many misfortunate things happen. My father passed away, and then I had surgery. I had to have my teeth fixed because having the babies just, it made them go bad. I already had some problems with them to start with, if you guys remember, because I have Rh negative blood type and I have like brittle bone in my teeth. That's what I was going through. They were so brittle when I was growing up, and they would just break because of that. And that's, sometimes you get weird deficiencies with Rh negative blood type. So that happened, and I had to go and get all of my teeth replaced. That was devastating, sitting in a chair and having them pull whatever you have left and thinking, oh my gosh, I'm still young and this is happening to me. And so going to higher self perspective is, well, this is meant to happen. Why is it meant to happen? Well, look at the beautiful teeth that I have now, and I always felt a little insecure when I was little. Once I awakened even more so, I loved myself, always loved myself. But people would say things to me about my teeth because of the brittle bone disease that I had. And that would make me feel, a little bit embarrassed, I suppose, because I kept wondering, why did they care about what my teeth are like? Why does that bother them? If they like me as a person, that shouldn't matter, and they could worry about, their own health. But, that people are very judgmental like that. I guess what I'm trying to say is that I was living with what was going on. I wasn't embarrassed by it by nature, but I was hurt that others were being judgmental. Even though I understood that that's how it is here, it still hurt me, So I used to laugh like this or like this, and I always dreamed of having just a beautiful smile. And later on in life, this tragic thing happened to me where they had to take some of my teeth out. And oh my gosh, it was just to make my dream come true. So this awful, traumatic event sparked my dream coming true. And that is also what happened recently, because I know a lot of people saw that I had surgery and kind of upgraded things a little bit here. I had a dire need for my abdominal to have surgery because, like I've said in my blogs, I had a couple of hernias that were protruding and they were getting big, and that's worrisome because obviously, if you have an organ that's like sticking out through an opening in your stomach muscles, if somebody hits you or you get in an accident or you fall, you could literally really damage that. And I was devastated by it. It's like, wow, this is just another negative thing that's going to happen, but I know that it's going to bring some good. I know it will. And so, after you have 4 kids, you have to imagine your body's not, all up to par here. And it wasn't horrible or anything, but I wanted, as a woman, to look the way I did before I had the kids, before everything was, deflated and going downhill. And in my process of my thoughts about that, I still thought to myself, I would love that. That would be great. Who wouldn't, want to look like they did, just to fix things to look like they were, to be me again. This is my life, though. These are the choices I've made, and this is what the result is, and that's okay. I really do love myself. I always have. Not in that way. I'm not egotistical. I'm talking about just to value myself and say I'm confident no matter what, because I feel that I am all love, and being all about love brings beautiful gifts to other people that I do for them, nice things that I give, things that I treat people out to on occasion, the times that I've had with them, giving them love and advice and just being there. And they really appreciate that, and that makes me feel even more good because I see these effects that I leave on people in their life. And so I've always felt that love that I've given from the outside inside, and then also everything I've had of love inside. And that is why I've had that confidence, because love is the cover of all things. It covers all transgressions, and it uplifts even beautiful moments to make them even more beautiful. So I never felt bad about myself, but hey, I'm sure all of you can understand what I'm saying. And so when I had that very traumatic situation happening, and it was, I was a little scared something might accidentally happen to me, because the Matrix always trying to throw some knives at me. I just had to live with it, and I went on, and I was okay. I really was. But that situation brought, again, another happy dream come true. And that was that when I went into the office to talk to the doctor about it, to say, hey, what can I do? I got to get, some of my lower organs tucked back in here because they're like sticky out. It literally looked like I had a grapefruit protruding from my stomach on one side, and then like maybe a semi blown up balloon kind of hanging out on the other. I mean, that's like monstrous in the eyes of some people. And so he said, well, that's happening because, your stomach muscles from having a couple of C-sections with children were separated, and it left room for that to kind of move. And he said, I understand it is not good for your health. It's going to make your system kind of move around. It does leave them organs at jeopardy. So we do have to fix that. So when he said that, I was really happy that there was a solution. And when he told me that also included, tightening up my stomach and making it flat and trim again, I was like, wow, I can't believe this is happening. This horrible thing that happened is bringing something that I've always had a hope for. Could live with, but I always hoped. And then there was the icing on the cake when he said, well, you're here, you're getting this done. Why don't we just pick everything back up and put it all back together for you? And I said, I don't have the extra money for that. And he said, listen, don't worry about it. You're a beautiful woman, and we'll be under the knife anyway. I'll throw it in there. And I said, wow, this is unreal. And when I came out of the doctor's office and I told my daughter, I said, he's going to, do everything, top and my belly, and he's not charging me anything else. She said, that's crazy. That doesn't happen to anybody. I said, well, I'm not just anybody. It's the heavens saying, this is what you wanted to manifest. This is something that you wanted that would make you happy. And you have gone through a lot, and your mentality was right when you were going through it. You handled it really wonderful. And these negative things have not changed you, because they could change somebody. They really could. But I've always held my ground and said, I know this is happening for another reason. And whether it is a lesson, to me in some way, or it's leading to another part of my journey's manifestation, then I'm okay with that. I always have love for the heavens, and they do test because they want to see how much are you going to go through before you give up on them, their help. I meant to say there. And they do get that a lot too. A lot of people are going through these horrible things, and they will either try to draw closer to get help, and when they don't get it, they kind of just tumble and they give away. They don't believe anymore because it's not helping the way they want, because they're going through a trial. And we do get trials, when we come as a soul, and we're not just training, we're here on a mission. We have to also show the heavens that we can pass certain tests and show strength in certain areas of our spirit that are the most important. So that happens, and this is a dream come true for me. And I know there are a lot of people out there probably judging me now, and I have to say that I would look at judgment where people were negative about things, and look at judgment where they're judging me for something positive I did for myself, and say that I would probably rather be judged for doing something positive for myself than for people to sit there and tear me apart negatively for things that I can't help. But this should be a lesson that you can manifest anything in your life if you have the right outlook. You have to keep the right mindset. You can't falter, because if you're trying to get somewhere with something in your life and you start thinking, yeah, it's never going to happen, or man, I hate myself, I don't like the way I look, you're putting negativity into your dream. You really are. And that's why it doesn't happen. Because as these traumatic things are happening to you, or something in your life isn't going right, or there's heartache, you have to keep that positive mindset and saying, this is all happening for a reason. It was an experience, and I have to really just take it for what it is right now, grow from this, and appreciate this, because it's going to lead to something that I really want later on. Maybe you don't know what that is yet, because not all of the trials really do give that obvious hint of what's going to happen later. But to have trust and faith in the universe that way, it will bring it, whatever that is. So human perspective is not the best way to always go, even though it'll always be there somewhat. You have to learn to try to put your mind into a better place always. I love you guys so very much. I really do. You are so beautiful, and I'm so glad to know all of you. I really am. I can't believe this journey that you've all been on, what you've all experienced, what you have shared with me. For that, I am so eternally grateful for, because you don't know what it makes me feel like to be able to teach you something that helped you, and to give you answers that help you to pave your life in a better direction. If you don't always use all the advice, then that's okay. I get it. But taking some of it, and seeing how that even works a little, making things a little better, that should motivate you to say, okay, why do I keep getting in my own way, not taking the rest of the advice? Let me really put my heart into this and my trust, and go with it. It's hard to trust people, it really is. My son just yesterday was telling me that he found that there are so many scam artists out there. He's talked to people, he asks his friends' parents what they think of it, because he wants to tell them what I do, but he is fearful of it. So he told me that a lot of the different answers that he got about how people feel about psychics is that some parents had said, oh, it's a scam, it's just, I won't even bother with that. And other people said, I believe in it, that they exist, but I don't think that there are a lot of real ones. There are probably more fakes than there are true. And that's why a lot of people, have this difficulty trusting people in this industry or in this type of job. But you should know in your heart already, when you come to me for reading and advice and learning, even though I'm always backed up, and even though it takes forever, I'm always striving to give the best. And when you do get your services, you should feel it in your heart that it is real, and that it's good for you, and that I do it from my heart because I love you. Try to think with a higher self mind, please, and look for the obstacles. Don't always be confused by things that look like they're good, because in this world, there is a lot of trickery from the matrix and your trials and tests, and what looks good could be bad, and what's bad, like what I told you with my story, actually leads to good. That's where I'm trying to take you. Namaste, everybody. Hope you enjoyed DJ Audion in the background. Check him out on YouTube sometime. Pretty fantastic music. Feel good, good vibes. Pick up your spirits and live your dreams.